I'll tell you, pretty proud of how our guys played today. We got to look. We came out and started slow in that game. You know, I thought, early morning game, our first early morning game of the year, but I thought our preparation was good. We were on top of our preparation. I thought we had a good attitude. Guys are up ready to go this morning. They were fired up. We had a good walkthrough and just started slow, falling behind 14-0. And we got to ask every one of the guys on the team. We got to find out how do we get that fixed. Let's see. But after it was 14-0, I guess we won 45-6 at that point after there. So I thought we turned it around and played pretty well in all phases. Obviously big special teams plays out there with the block kick, the return for a touchdown that got called back. That was unfortunate. For us right there, with special teams, I thought played pretty solid. Offense, I thought we played solid. Defense, I thought we played solid at times. A little bit too many yards here and there on some plays. But after 14-0 to hold them to 6 points the rest of the way, I think that's really good defense. So, that's the end of non-conference play. Now everything else is conference play from here on out. We got to get ourselves ready, get ready for the grind that we're about to go through over the next couple weeks.
Questions, David?
Coach, you bragged about your last couple of recruiting classes, redshirt freshman, true freshman. Talk about the plays those guys made today.
Well, you see them coming in. I thought they did a good job. Brandon Bryant, big interception there, kind of sealed the victory at the end. Some of the freshmen on the field out there making a lot of plays. The young running backs running the ball. Malik Adir, I think, had a pretty big day for us offensively. Fred got banged up, and he had to get in there. So I think those guys are stepping up, and it's what we need to do as a program. We wanted to build depth as a program. You got to have depth if you're going to play in the Southeastern Conference, and to go through the schedules that we have to go through week in and week out. And guys got to be ready to get on the field and make plays when their numbers are called.
You mentioned the block punt. Do you think that just kind of shows the versatility of Donald Gray to be able to make a play on special teams?
Yeah, I think you guys see him. He's a first-year player now for us. I know he's coming out of junior college, so a little bit older maybe than a high school kid, but in a lot of ways he's kind of a freshman out there on the field for us, a first-year guy. And you see him make some great spectacular plays and block a punt. So I think you see the potential he has. And I think he's constantly working on being a consistent football player. And I know he wants to be good. You see him, I think he had a drop pass today. And, almost to the point of it bothers him so much he drops a pass, it can mess him up beyond that. But after that, he made the play, blocked the punt, did a really nice job for us.
With Shump out and then Gus Waller going out, and he said Fred Ross, there were replacements in there, Darian Hutchinson, Malik Deer. What did those guys do to step up when they were called upon?
Well, there's a lot of them out, you know what I mean? You're looking at Joe Morrow is still out, Gabe Miles still out, so when Fred Ross goes down, you're down 3 wide receivers and you're starting tight end. That's a lot of skill position, and starting tailback, that's a lot of skill guys out of the game. But the great thing is, guys get their numbers called. Did a nice job. Hutch, Justin Johnson stepping in there, going to make plays. One of the reasons, one of the reasons I love to rotate guys. I love to rotate players, and it is so that guys are ready for most situations when there's numbers called. You can look and say, well, at times you're rotating a guy in there, and why do we have a guy? Why is in this situation with this guy being in the game where if you had your starter in there, a star player in there, he might have made something special happen. It's for these purposes that guys have got to be ready to get on the field to go make plays.
Dak moved up the board a little more in the SEC, broke a couple more school records. You talked about his progression as a quarterback passing. What have you seen from him over the last year?
Well, obviously he's come a long way as a big-time quarterback. I think one of the things I was pleased to see you saw him today is starting to get back to finding that balance of when to pull it down and start running. You know what I mean? Of when to pull it down and start running. Now, I think of the first couple games of the season, he's done such a great job of getting the third and fourth progression reads. College kids, you're lucky if they get to a second. If it's 1 run, 1-2 run maybe. He's on to 4. But I think he's starting to see and understand coverages where I'm 1-2, oh goodness, they're not covering me for a run. I can go easily run for a first down right now. Instead of holding the ball in the pocket too long, and then that breaks down and creating a sack. But also, the key to that's the balance of not looking 1-2 run It's knowing what's happening on the field. And I think he makes great decisions for us. I think, it's great having a guy that when you fall down 14-0 at home on today, that, you're going to get, okay, let's go. Not a big deal. Let's just go make plays. I think, today I think it actually made him angry. Now 14-0. Usually he's got that calm, we're going to go make a play, don't worry about it. He looked a little bit I don't know if you wanted to get in front of him at that point right there. He got a look in his eye. He was excited. He wanted that ball and wanted to go make it happen on the field.
Do you feel like this was your team's most complete game this season?
Most complete last 52 minutes, right? When did they score to make it 14-0?
7 minutes.
Hold on, I got it right here. 13:51. Yeah, so after the 3:51 mark of the first quarter, I think absolutely was our most complete game. That's right. That's close to, about, no. Wow, I'm terrible. I was told there would be no math in here today.
So far this year, you've fallen behind early in, I think, 4 of the 7 games after the first quarter and things. What's so good about, how's the staff, what's made them so good at making adjustments and things and limiting teams from the second quarter on?
Well, I think there's multiple things that go into it. One, I think our coaching staff knows that it's been together for a while. There's a lot of guys that have been here and know, so there's never a panic from the coaching staff. Two, there's some veteran guys on the team that aren't ever going to fall, in a panic and know that, hey, look at the clock, because the same thing could happen the opposite way, and they understand it both ways. A lot of the older guys that played were all of a sudden, I remember, you go back to the one game we played, so last week we jumped up 14-0, like a minute and a half into the game, where all of a sudden you'd be like, oh, you can't take a breath there, you got to get going, you know what I mean? Let's keep going, there's a lot of football left to be played. And those older guys have been through that. I know, like what happened with Auburn last year, I think we jumped up really big early, right? And I looked up at the clock, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's still like early in the first quarter. I'm like, whew. But I think the older guys and the coaching staff understand that the mindset of 4 quarters and don't let early momentum, good or bad, get in the way of us continuing to execute and do our job.
Any updates on Gus, Sean Fred, and Jamal Peters?
All right, let's see. Gus, I don't know about. I got to go find out about. Jamal Peters, we hope to have him back next week. We thought he'd be able to play today. They didn't make the call, and especially as a freshman, not practicing all week. We held him out. Gabe and Joe Morrow, they're close. We're going to find out, whether it'll be. There'll be judgment calls this week. With depending on how they progress, really over. Until Tuesday afternoon is usually when you start to think about making the call, one way or the other. The best thing about those two, they're older veteran players, so they could get cleared on Friday and step on the game if they had to for us. Did I miss anybody? Fred Ross. Fred Ross, they cleared him to go back into the game today. So I'm hoping that means he's going to be ready to play. He went back in. And then he didn't feel 100% looking at him, and we just thought, hey, let's see what we can get other guys to go make some plays and see if we're okay. Shump had midweek kind of back locked up on him midweek, and was trying to get back, and he tried to warm up today and just didn't feel it. But the trainers thought, talking to them Friday, if he didn't go today, they'd feel pretty good about him for next week. So I guess we'll find out more tomorrow.
Yeah, Coach, not to ask you to repeat yourself, but particularly Malik and Harris, when you were down 14-0, it's one thing for veterans to step up and play, but those really young players, and they made some pretty big plays in that stretch when you were down and needed it.
They absolutely did, but the good thing about him, that's why we were, during recruiting, that's why you recruited them, a guy like Malik. And I've been watching him play for years. When he was a freshman, he was a prior, you watch him play, so that kid, there's something to him. And, you put the ball in his hands, and he eats up more yards than really seems happening on film. It's like, he doesn't look like he's going super fast all the time. And all of a sudden you're like, boy, how did that end up being a 12-yard play? It looked like it was about a 4-yard gain right there. He just eats up some yards. But I remember watching him all through high school. He was a guy that made things happen with the ball in his hands and loves the game and loves to work at it. Eris Williams, the same way. He's a kid that absolutely loves the game of football. So they're so desperate. They work so hard so that they're ready. They understand it. You know, they don't. In a lot of today's world, you know, and a lot of the hype that all these guys get in recruiting, some young kids come in, and it's which is a tragedy. It's give me the ball. I got to be a star. If I'm not a star right away, then there's something wrong everywhere. These two guys get it. They come in and they want to work really hard. So when their moment is called, they're ready to play. They understand they're going to be the future of our program. They have great futures in our program. They want to work hard. So even as a younger guy, you give me an opportunity, I'm going to be ready to take advantage of it. And both those guys have that mindset and that attitude. A lot of our young guys do it. I think that's a huge part of our program of how we've been able to build things.
Robbie?
You discussed 3 big wide receivers that were out, including Fred Ross leading the team, and you still put up 347 yards. What's that say about the depth that you've built at that position?
Well, a bunch, and you know, I mean, to be honest with you, Billy Gonzalez did an unbelievable job today because we had to move some guys. I mean, we're ready to go send some of the guys that might be redshirting this year into the locker. A couple of them were ready to go in and get dressed. At that point, Billy moved some guys around. He's coaching them up on the sidelines. You know, and it's good that we have some veteran players. You know, Fred Brown, I think, played every position at the receiver position today. That you have a veteran that he understands the system. I don't think he'd ever taken a snap at our H receiver. He played a lot of it today in his career. But he knows the concepts. He knows what's going on the field. Ability, you know, to do a great job of adjusting and moving guys into different positions. You know, Billy did a great job with those guys, right? Because I mean, you go down. I mean, you're down 3 receivers, and Malik got dinged in there for just a little bit. I mean, so you're down 4 wide receivers. I mean, we only dress 8. You're down 4. There's a lot of coaching has to be done. I mean, you know, Billy, I guarantee you he's going to be a little bit tired mentally and physically tonight, Billy, as much as the players are for all the adjustments he had to make during the game.
You had 6 or more receivers with 3 or more catches. Was there an effort to spread the ball around, or did it just happen that way?
I think the injuries were a part of that right there, that a bunch of guys got in the field and had to catch the ball and go move to different positions. And but I do think it does show that one of the comfort that Dak has as a leader, he's gonna find whoever's open. He's gonna take what you give him, and he'll spread the ball around a bunch.
And closing with 5 straight SEC games, did you accomplish what you wanted to with those non-conference games heading into the 5, then the season, I guess, with the right momentum?
You know, we're 4-0. You know, I guess the ultimate accomplishment is to be 4-0, non-conference, and we were able to do that this year. And you know, we're 1-2 in conference play, but there's a lot of football to be played, as I've said. You know, obviously next week's game is going to be as big a game as we have on the whole season against, I mean, a Kentucky team that I've got to see them play. They're a much improved Kentucky football team, and it's going to be a huge challenge for us.
And then you talked about just maybe, you know, getting prepared just in case anyone else went down. What's that process like when you're telling the red shirts or the potential red shirts, hey, maybe go get dressed? How does that process work? Is it you and Billy? Just kind of walk us through that.
It's us. I'm on Billy, and it's who's going into the game. Do we need to? You know, I'm on with the trainers. You know, one, is this a long-term injury where, you know, if we're going to play him, let's get him on the. Let's not waste any time if a guy's going to be out a significant amount of time. So you're waiting that with the trainers. You're looking at the guys, make sure they're ready. What position? Making sure what position they're most comfortable at. You know, who's most comfortable at a specific position, and then where's the depth of that position? How ready are they to go play? You gotta get ready to make that decision and throw them out there. You know, I think we'll get a lot of more news on that hopefully tomorrow, of whether we have to moving forward get guys ready to go out in the field and play.
Did that discussion kind of happen after Fred went down? Was that when the whole thing?
When Fred went down, yes, because now you're down. You know, I mean, you have no more backups.
Right.
You know, so at that point, you're looking, you know, we ran 73 plays. You're asking, that was earlier in the game. So I'm looking and saying, okay, is Malik Deer ready to go play 65 more plays this game? If not, what's next? And then Malik goes down, and now it's like, holy cow, really, what's next? But, you know, it's not something that's done on a whim. It's done, right. Let's keep these guys here. They do not go, even though they're ready. They're in the huddle. They're learning the plays. We're going through everything, getting ready to get them on the field. But they don't step on the field without our permission.
One more?
You mentioned a little bit earlier, Brandon Bryant's now caused 2 turnovers for 2 touchdowns in 2 straight games, filling in for Kendrick Market. How big has that been to have I know he's a redshirt freshman, step in for a senior like that and produce like that?
Well, I think it's huge because especially the loss you have, with Kendrick. Being a leader back there, a guy that you expect to make plays. These young guys coming in might be more, are so athletic. It's great to see them starting to take those steps. With a Brandon Bryant, Mark McLaurin's playing well. Jamal's been playing well before he got banged up. To see that, so what, you're losing a little bit in his leadership. You're putting on some great players with great futures, and it's great to see them grow up in a hurry because over the next 5 games, we're going to need them to really step up and make plays for us.